Hello everyone, and welcome back to channel where we explore personal growth through the lens of insightful books. This week, I'm excited to share with you a truly remarkable book on psychotherapy. It's a work that is both deeply professional and incredibly accessible. Maybe you should talk to someone. In 2019, this book took the literary world by storm, topping bestseller lists, reaching the top 10 on Amazon in the US, and even becoming required reading for Harvard Business School. It's been translated into over 40 languages, and its Vietnamese edition is titled Coel Bien Nen GP Bacchus Tam Lai, which means maybe you should see a psychologist. I'll be sure to include all the book details in the video description below. The author, Lori Gottlieb, is a senior psychotherapist and a talented writer. After graduating from college, she worked as a screenwriter in Hollywood, contributing to the production of the TV series Legend of France, among other films. However, she later changed course, earning a degree from medical school, and later a master's in clinical psychology, eventually becoming a licensed psychotherapist. Her background as a writer and screenwriter makes the narrative of this book particularly engaging, and her professional expertise as a psychotherapist provides a unique insight into the human condition. In this memoir, she shares stories about her patients, revealing how, in the confines of a therapist's office, people expose their most genuine, vulnerable selves. Through her storytelling, you'll gain a broader perspective on self-understanding. Within these pages, you'll find 5 compelling narratives. 4 of these will focus on her patients, and 1 will delve into the author's own experience with therapy. Surprisingly, even a seasoned therapist needs someone to talk to. This shows us that we, all of us, at some point, perhaps even right now, should seek out a trusted person for open conversation. If, however, you find no such person at the moment, remember that you still have yourself, and this book can act as your companion, helping you to discover the most effective way to heal. And as the great psychologist, Carl Jung, once said, only those who dare to face their souls truly awaken, and the only person who can heal your wounds will always be yourself. Throughout our lives, we are faced with 4 fundamental questions. The Buddha taught that life, including the cycles of birth and death, is inherently filled with suffering. All living beings are subject to the law of suffering. This suffering, according to the book's author, is like a series of demons residing within each of us. We each have our unique demons, big or small, old or new, loud or quiet. These demons might change, but their core nature can be distilled into 4 fundamental themes of life, which include loneliness, death, limited freedom, and meaninglessness. These themes are also recognized in psychology as the 4 ultimate questions of life. So, let us first contemplate these 4 elements that permeate human existence. Let's begin with loneliness. There's a saying that holds much truth: no one is an island, but everyone at some point is forced to become one. This sensation is the essence of loneliness. If a person is immersed in loneliness for too long, they can fall into despair, paranoia, and experience hallucinations. At such a point, even when in a crowd, amidst many people, or on a bustling street, we can still feel empty and fail to receive any support or comfort. Then, there is death. We all perceive life as a one-way train journey, with our final destination being death itself. Thus, as we near the end of our journey, many become hesitant to get off the train, because they fear the inevitable. However, what we truly fear isn't death itself, but rather the loss, the regret, and the end of everything that is dear to us, our family, loved ones, possessions, career, achievements, and so on. Next, we face the limitations on our freedom. When we are born, we are like blank canvases, holding limitless possibilities. We can freely depict our deepest desires. However, as we grow, we become trapped on a rigid path, within countless rules, prejudices, and biases of society. The more we walk, the fewer choices we have. Difficulties in career choices, social competition, family pressure, and invisible expectations all contribute to limiting our freedom. We hide behind countless masks, while countless inner conflicts and our ignorance prevent us from understanding ourselves. How long has it been since we cried freely, with unrestrained emotion? How long has it been since we dared to confront our hidden truths? In the end, we lose our true freedom. Finally, there is the theme of meaninglessness. Freud, the great psychologist, believed that humans sought happiness and avoided pain. However, another renowned psychologist, Viktor Frankl, believed that the main driver of human action isn't happiness, but rather the search for meaning. Once a person questions their purpose and fails to find a reason for living, they can easily fall into despondency and despair. These 4 questions, these elements of life, are ones that we may spend a lifetime trying to answer. While they bring us pain and hardship, they also hold the key to a new chapter of our lives. They mark the end of ignorance and suffering. On this journey, we must learn to mature and also learn how to heal ourselves. Seeking answers through psychotherapy can help us liberate ourselves and reconcile with ourselves. As the psychologist of Yalom stated, psychotherapy is an existential experience of self-understanding. It can help us face the final 4 problems of life, create change, and become a better version of ourselves. In simple terms, psychotherapy is about releasing pain and helping us escape from powerlessness. It can't solve all of life's problems, but it can help you see the world from a different perspective and find solutions that make your life less complicated and less painful. Let us now explore 5 stories, revolving around these themes of loneliness, death, limited freedom, and the search for meaning, so that we can recognize that every adult has the potential to heal their own wounds. Let's begin with how we wear masks that lead to loneliness. John, a successful and handsome Hollywood producer, a multi-Emmy Award winner, seems to have it all. He has a beautiful wife and 2 bright daughters. From the outside, John is a winner. However, the truth of his situation is far from ideal. He has been feeling immense pressure, experiencing poor sleep, a troubled marriage, and his children seem to have lost all respect for him. At work, his boss piles on more demands, while his colleagues drag down his performance. Dr. Laurie is initially unimpressed with John, finding him arrogant and rude. He believes his colleagues are incompetent, and even Laurie herself isn't spared his insults. At the end of his first therapy session, instead of a check, he gives Laurie cash, stating, "You seem to be like my mistress, or a call girl. I hope I don't offend you. But if I were to have a beauty hideaway at home, I wouldn't choose a woman like you." His insults imply that Laurie is not attractive. Confronted with his rudeness, Laurie quietly repeats compassion to herself in her head. This was how she managed to suppress her dislike for him and to keep the therapy going. However, as their therapy progressed, Laurie saw through John's mask. It was a mask of indifference, a mask of profound loneliness. Upon learning that he has a pet dog, Rosie, whom he deeply cares for, Laurie said, "I can see that you deeply love Rosie." John then blushed and immediately replied, "What? Rosie is just a dog." He looked embarrassed, like a teenager trying to hide his crush, but his eyes also betrayed a deep sadness. This became a turning point in his therapy. John, who had previously seemed closed off and numb, finally began to expose his emotions. Why would someone become emotionally numb and closed off? It is often a response to extreme trauma and hurt. When negative emotions surge at once, one often chooses to become numb and escape the pain. With Laurie's patient guidance, John finally confessed his pain. He could not forgive himself, because deep down, he believed he was responsible for the death of his son, Guy. He continuously replayed an accident in his mind. "If I hadn't been distracted by the phone, the accident wouldn't have occurred. If there had been no accident, Guy wouldn't have died, and my wife wouldn't be depressed." At the hospital, after the accident, his wife cried and yelled, "You are stupid. You killed Guy." John also felt deep sorrow at the death of his son and was also pained by his wife's accusations. He wanted to cry, but for the sake of his daughter, he held back his tears, believing that he couldn't afford to crumble, as he needed to be strong for his family. However, we should know that negative emotions need timely release. Crying is the best way to release and empty oneself. When tears flow, feelings of guilt, self-reproach, and sadness are also released. However, John chose not to cry. So, these emotions festered within him, creating a dark void that threatened to swallow him whole. John went on with his life, working, attending parties, and watching football. His wife called him a cold-blooded monster, yet only he knew his heart was bleeding and that he wished to die each day when he woke up. He put up a mask that severed his emotional connection with others, making him one of the loneliest men in a crowd. For him, Joy belonged to everyone else, but he was a hollow shell. In Laurie's office, John finally relaxed, and tears, held back for years, finally flowed. He screamed, cursed, laughed, and sobbed. Laurie watched him silently, knowing that he was fighting an inner battle. Finally, John, wiping away his tears, said with embarrassment, "I'm sorry, I broke down." But Laurie replied, "You didn't break down. You've been reborn." With his tears, John had finally found peace. He had removed the mask of loneliness. He then began to enjoy spending time with his family, his dog Rosie, and wrote another award-winning script. He began to connect with colleagues and to open up to others. He also will not forget his little boy Guy, who is no longer a barrier between him and his wife, but rather a thread that binds them closer. They watched old videos of their son, smiling and crying at once, as they observed Guy joyfully running and playing. John's story ends here. He had appeared with a mask of arrogance, but beneath was loneliness that separated him from everyone else. How often do we, like John, armor ourselves to keep people away, to protect our fragile hearts, afraid of another breakdown? However, by avoiding emotional vulnerability, we separate ourselves from life and ourselves, and become lonely islands in a sea of confusion. We must recognize that we have tried our best, and that we don't need to be so hard on ourselves. Let us remove our masks, let us show our true emotions. Once the knot in our hearts has been untied, we can finally open the door to let the light shine in, escape our aching loneliness, and find ourselves embraced by love and warmth. Now, let us explore how death does not mean the end. The second story is about Julie, a 33-year-old university lecturer. She was at the peak of happiness, having just returned from her honeymoon. She had recently received tenure, and she was pregnant with her first child. But the clouds suddenly turned dark when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Julie went to see Dr. Laurie, seeking support as she navigated through this difficult period. Facing her challenges, Laurie did not offer Julie empty platitudes, but rather discussed practicalities, such as how to wear a scarf or a wig after chemotherapy. She also talked with Julie about how to manage her marriage, how to address conflicts with her parents and other relationships, and how to deal with work. After a few months of intensive treatment, she received good news: the cancer cells were gone. To celebrate, she and her husband rode in a hot air balloon and watched the sunset together. However, 6 months later, Julie was back in Laurie's office, looking gaunt. She had received another diagnosis for cancer. Julie's life had become like a roller coaster ride, with extreme ups and downs. There seemed to be no steady path forward. By being with Julie, Laurie witnessed her own mortality and learned about life's fragility. Laurie found herself crying many times and feeling hopeless. How could we navigate the uncertainty of life? She eventually found her answer: life equals uncertainty. The only way to counter uncertainty is by living in the present moment. The past is behind us, and the future is not yet here. The only thing we can truly control is the present moment. Thus, we shouldn't dwell on the past or fear the future. Instead, we must walk carefully and live fully in each moment. We can make the best of the days ahead. Julie, who had received such devastating news, did so. Her life may have been unpredictable, but each moment was filled with excitement and enjoyment. She truly lived. She took a job as a cashier in a supermarket, feeling that this would allow her to directly help people. She organized a book club, helped friends prepare for university entrance exams, and interacted with her students online. She even planned a unique memorial ceremony, saying farewell in her own distinctive way. Most importantly, she helped her husband create an online dating profile so he could eventually find another loving partner. There is a line in a Disney movie that states, "I always thought the opposite of love was hate. But now I understand it is forgetting." Death isn't the end of life, forgetting is. Julie created lasting memories for those she loved. She had far from reached the final station of life. Death isn't a deity, neither is it the end. It is the most important lesson in life. The journey of life is one way, and we are all moving towards the inevitability of death. Since life is unpredictable, how can one know if the next step may be the one that changes it all? We could be struck by lightning at any moment. Instead of living in fear, We should let go of attachments and bravely choose what is meaningful for us, so that we may live without regrets, and without having to die in pain. Next, we see how you are your own worst enemy. Rita, a 69-year-old woman, looks younger than her actual age. However, she walks slowly and lacks energy, which are common signs of depression. Rita's life has been a series of disappointments. As a child, she had an unhappy life with her parents. In order to escape, she dropped out of school and married hastily. Rita was initially happy, but her first husband turned out to be an alcoholic and abuser. Rita wanted to leave, but lacking education and skills, she convinced herself to stay, telling herself that at least, this ensured her children could eat, dress well, have a pool, and go to a good school. However, things went from bad to worse. Her 4 children had their lives ruined by drugs, imprisonment, suicide, or endured suffering. She finally divorced her husband. However, this was followed by 2 more failed marriages. Rita had spent her life in jobs that she hated. Her children were indifferent and rarely contacted her. She spent most of her time peeking at her neighbors across the street, feeling both envious and admiring, as she yearned for the happiness she had never known. Recently, Rita met a man who made her heart flutter. However, before she could say anything, he chose a younger woman. This made her feel even more insecure. Rita sought psychotherapy, feeling that if her life didn't change, she would end it. During therapy, Rita never used the tissue box placed on the table. She would always use the old tissue she already had in her hand. Even when Laurie approached her to offer her a new one, she would refuse. Why would Rita behave in such a strange way? Laurie believes this stemmed from a deep-seated sense of unworthiness. Subconsciously, she didn't believe she deserved anything good, even a new tissue. In psychology, this is called the fear of happiness, where a person looks at the world through the lens of fault, and feels abandoned, betrayed, and rejected. People with a fear of happiness won't accept any joy, but pain seems to stick to them. This fear usually comes from past traumas, such as accidents, loss, and childhood hardship. Rita's fear stemmed from a sense of guilt. She thought of herself as a bad mother, who had not been able to protect her children from her abusive husband. During beatings, she would hide in her room, drinking wine. She thought that if she closed the door, she would block out the pain. Why would a mother not protect her children? The truth is that she was envious of her children. She was jealous of their comfortable life, love of their siblings and parents, and their abilities. As she didn't experience any of that in her past, she didn't help her children when they were in pain, satisfying her envy. Unlike Rita's story of low self-esteem, there is another story about a loss of freedom. This comes from Charlotte, a stylish 25-year-old who graduated from a prestigious university and has many friends and admirers. However, she said she always felt tired and stressed from work and couldn't get along with her parents. She was addicted to alcohol and constantly switched boyfriends. She reminds one of her depressed and alcoholic mother. The boyfriends she sought were similar to her father. The psychologist Freud refers to this as a repetition compulsion, where those who experience childhood trauma are drawn to similar situations because they have the illusion that they can repair past wounds. However, the result is usually the opposite, with past wounds being opened and causing even more pain. A French philosopher once said, "Other people are hell." However, this author believes that we ourselves are our true hell, because trapped in the obsession of the past, we become obstacles on our own path. Rita, haunted by her past, was constantly punishing herself by degrading herself. Charlotte, hurt by the coldness of her parents, sought attention through hurting herself with alcohol and promiscuity. So, how can people heal and be reborn? The answer is, through bravely accepting the truth. Rita, with Laurie's encouragement, accepted her mistakes. She confessed her past to her longtime crush and made new friends. She also contacted her children on her 70th birthday. Soon after, she received an email from her daughter, who said that even though she could not forgive her mother, she wanted to live a healthy life. She decided not to wait till she was 70 to make a change. This letter empowered Rita to leave the darkness and seek healthier and more fulfilling relationships. Charlotte also bravely faced her situation. Dr. Laurie showed her 2 options: one where she continued to look to the past and hurt herself, and one where she faced the responsibilities of adulthood and built a better future. Ultimately, Charlotte chose to look forward, starting her own transformative journey. She had wavered and changed many times, but gradually she escaped the prison of her past wounds, stepping into a wider world of freedom. Remember that true freedom begins when you dare to step out, accept, and face your past. Finally, let's discuss the search for meaning. The last story involves the book's author, Laurie, a psychotherapist in her 40s. Her life took an unexpected turn when she was betrayed by her lover. He left her and said he did not want to live with her children. Laurie called him a man who hates children and was deeply hurt. In the end, she sought out her therapist, Wendell. Under his guidance, Laurie realized that her heartbreak was not the cause of her negativity, but rather it was a deeper, midlife crisis. Despite being well into middle age, she felt lost in the future. She was scared of missing her last chance in life and that her life would become meaningless. In reality, Laurie had always sought meaning in her life. After graduating from university, she worked in Hollywood, becoming a successful screenwriter. She believed that she was creating meaningful stories. However, when she participated in a medical drama, she realized that doctors had a more significant role to play. She thus decided to give up all that she had achieved and attend medical school. However, her experience at the hospital was disappointing. The hospital's procedures and guidelines left little room for the patient's feelings, and the focus was on treating people like robots. Laurie disliked that and left medical school, becoming a clinical psychologist and a therapist. However, even while working as a therapist, she felt a lack of meaning in her life. 2 years prior, she had signed a contract to write a book on happiness. However, as a single mother struggling to make ends meet, she felt that she did not have the capacity to create an authentic or meaningful book on the subject. It was at this point that The Man Who Hates Children appeared, filling her life with hope and helping her escape the feeling of meaninglessness. Perhaps, this is why Laurie couldn't forgive him for leaving her. Without him, she would be forced to continue working on a meaningless project. Laurie decided that she had to finish writing the painful happiness book and then focus on other work that would have more meaning. So, she spent 2 hours writing every day, prioritizing speed over quality. However, when she was about to finish her book, she received a senseless email from her ex. He was bragging to her that a friend of his had joined his company. Laurie was puzzled by this email. He was suddenly bragging after they had already separated. It felt as if he was simply trying to create some meaning. Just then, she realized that the book she had been struggling with was just like the senseless email. If it didn't create empathy and touch the hearts of others, it would be meaningless. Laurie didn't want to die, knowing that her legacy would be like her ex's meaningless email. She then immediately cancelled her book contract with the publisher. She would now seek truly meaningful topics. And her love for writing was reborn, flowing freely within her. She stated that she must write about what she truly believes in and that she had to be true to herself. It was from this journey that Maybe You Should Talk to Someone was written, a book that has since awakened millions of people around the world. Maybe You Should Talk to Someone makes us realize how tough life can be. Loneliness, death, the lack of freedom, and the inability to find meaning are challenges that we face. We crave connection, but fear being hurt. We have hope, but fear uncertainty. We know that we should let go of the past, but we cannot face our pain. Perhaps, it is time that you talk to someone. There are books that present philosophy, evidence, and viewpoints. Then there are books that use stories to inspire faith and awaken the reader. This book belongs to the latter category. If you are moved to read this book, it may be a sign that you are going through some inner conflict. If you have someone to confide in, then that is excellent. But if you don't have that person, then that is okay. What you are missing is not a person, like Dr. Laurie, who can help you face your past and offer advice on solving your problems. What you need most is courage. So, don't be disheartened if you don't have the right person to talk to. You have what the author, Laurie, wants to give you, and you have other useful books. You also have my videos, which aim to convey positivity. You have the light inside yourself, and, most importantly, you have yourself. It only takes one step, one thought, to choose to love yourself. May you and I be brave enough to let go of the past and move forward, knowing that each step can help us live with value and meaning, and become freer and more understanding. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to watch my newest weekly videos. Again, thank you, and I will see you in the next video.